I'm at Paul versus Silva, and it's just a media day. We had a little bit of room for fans, but there was 150 seats, right? So the media all comes first. This thing was packed. People were waiting outside. People got turned away. That's a good sign. You want to know if you're onto a good idea or not. It starts with how much do people care. All right, great. I got asked by the media, did 4 different interviews. Real quick in blurbs, you might see them somewhere. Everybody asked me about Chimaev. They talked about Jake and they talked about Anderson. They did a great job of dropping Hilo Arena in Arizona, and they did a great job of mentioning Ticketmaster on October 29th, and they steered the conversation instantly to Chimaev. And the question from 4 different reputable media sources all came back to the same thing, which is what do you do to Chimaev after he missed weight? You have a guy who appears to be the number 1 contender. The question becomes, number 1 contender where? And if I was to look at Chimaev and I was to go back to the pandemic, about 2 years ago, he was signed, just to remind you guys timeline-wise, when we talk about Chimaev being a number 1 contender, make sure you understand, he was signed to fight with Leon. Chimaev got a ranking for the first time, and it was low. I want to say they put him at number 9, undefeated but number 9. They put him in there with Leon. It was going to be a main event. Leon was ranked number 3, but they put a caveat on it for both of them. Hey, Leon, you beat Chimaev, we'll give you a title fight. Hey, Chimaev, you beat Leon, we'll give you a title fight. Now I'm going back 2 years. Chimaev's had how many fights since then? Right? I know he fought with the guy who he came behind him and he made the comment to Dana White through the cage and then he choked him out. That's one. This is off the top of my head, but then he has the absolute war with Gilbert Burns. Now that was never even discussed as a number 1 contenders fight, but that's what a number 1 contenders fight looks like. No, that wasn't the one. Okay, great. We get the announcement. It's going to be Chimaev versus Colby Covington. That card comes and goes, and just to remind you, not only did that match not happen, that was the one where in the main event we had Rodriguez taking on Ortega. Okay, that was a meaningful amount of time ago. We get Chimaev back in there again. Now, he's supposed to be in there with Nate Diaz, but prior to that fight, we were told the winner of this will be the number 1 contender. We understood as a community what that meant. We understood that meant if Chimaev wins, he's going to fight for a championship. And one of the reasons that we glaringly had that obvious for us is it was revealed that Nate Diaz was doing his last fight. If Nate wins the fight, he's not under contract, he can fight the belt. So we get it. We get it. Now, even if that card ended up being switched up, we had Chimaev in a match which you think would qualify him for number 1 contender status. But we got a problem. We got a big problem with this weight. And the media, they were right to ask me. This is going to be group thought. We're going to have to get a lot of people's opinion. I think that Dana is seeking some opinions right now. When Dana was asked about this post-fight press conference, just to use his words, he said, going into a title fight is a challenge. That's a quote. So it's a challenge. And he was talking about, because of the weight, how do I tell that story? How when a guy just came in 8 pounds overweight, do I book him in a fight that matters at that weight next? Now, the other way to look at it is that he's now a middleweight. And I believe in that. I believe that as a wrestling coach. If I got a guy that misses weight, he's no longer that weight. We're going to move him up. We're not going to revisit that. Maybe he's never going to miss weight again. He's going to be dedicated. He's going to do things different. I don't need him to change his life that much. I mean, I just don't need to. His body is telling me something. I deal with younger men. I deal with younger men who are growing. It is different, but I still believe it. I don't believe that Chimaev, when he was making his choice between 170 and 185, should have chose 170. The baddest dude in the world, and don't ever make a mistake about this, okay? If you're the baddest dude in the world, you don't ever really know, but when you believe this and you're willing to go out there and prove it, you're willing to take these risks, sacrifice, and dedicate your life to proving how good you are, you will do that at the heaviest weight that you can. There's going to be a limit. There's going to be a limit where you can only go so big. Floyd Mayweather was the best just by example. Floyd could not have gone in there and dealt with Roy Jones, right? There's a size. Just trying to prove that point. But you will always go the heaviest weight you can that you can succeed. If Chimaev is going to have equal success, if that's what we are to believe, and he's shown it thus far in performances, if he's going to have equal success between welterweight and middleweight, he should have chosen middleweight to start with. And I'm not confident that he didn't. I don't fully believe that Chimaev is the one that chose 170. I think that was chose for him. I think it was chose on a belief that if I can do well at 185, I can do great at 170. And 155 is where I belong. Like there's just some kind of piece of psychology within our sport. I haven't seen it be true, by the way. Even on the experiment that Jon Jones is going through right now, he's not coming back to go down in weight. He's coming back to go up in weight. When George St. Pierre, who's recognized as the greatest who ever done it, returned to the sport for champ status, he returned up in weight. And this is what guys do. They don't go down. And I'm just bringing that to your attention. If this is going to be a group thought and we're all going to weigh in opinions, your opinions matter. My opinion gets to matter too. And I think that we should really look, right? Because age is relevant. You got a young man here at Chimaev. You got a 26-year-old. He doesn't have control of his body yet. He's close. He'll have it by the time he's 28. He doesn't have it yet. His body is still growing. His body is still forming. As human beings, we don't get smaller with time. We get bigger. It's a sad reality. But enjoy getting bigger. Enjoy the process. No reason to be cutting weight if you don't have to.